Blackpool and all that. Oh, McLaughlin. Only have pins, I'll be your pocketbook is. Hello and welcome in to this Monday's entertainment news. I am a bespectacled Jonathan C. Walsh. I am the host on the stream/show for this evening, tonight in this case. To the left is Stephen John McLaughlin, also bespectacled tonight, wearing the Adidas hat and t-shirt combo. I'm going for the LA Dodgers hat, selling out my Boston sports sort of team fanaticism to sort of jump on the glory train. I'm not humping a glory train, I have to stress. LA Dodgers are the
I just said glory train.
Yeah. The Dodgers are the current world champions, whatever the fuck that means. Can't be a world champion if you only play American and Canadian teams. There's a whole other world out there, but I digress. We'll not get into politics, shall we? As Donald the Tango Man crashes the world economy with his fucking tariffs. Here to discuss GTA 6, Stephen, and a whole host of other things. The pricing, potentially, of GTA 6, the Pandora's box that Nintendo have opened up with the Switch 2 release, and their ludicrous pricing of not only the console and the bundles, but the likes of Mario Kart World, I think, and all the other games that are coming out. We'll get into that, I'm sure. We weren't going to speak about Nintendo, but I'm going to throw you under the bus and ask your thoughts, even though you're not really a Nintendo fan, are you, Stephen? Let's be honest. I think everyone's a fan of Nintendo to some degree.
Oh, bad.
But Steve, not got a topic bar for it, but obviously sad news over the last few days. The passing of Val Kilmer. Obviously died peacefully at his home, surrounded by his family. I think it was pneumonia that he passed away with. Want to say he was in his 60s. I've not seen the exact age, but I know he was 65, but the same age as my parents. And also we're going to not linger on it too long, but we're going to talk about the roles, his more inspirational roles that we know and love the guy for. But obviously just address the passing of him. Again, Stephen, there's been a lot of prominent figures passed away recently, be it composers or actors and whatnot, and Val Kilmer, an absolute superstar of the 1990s. I was too young to appreciate the guy and his actual pomp, but certainly growing up and becoming a huge fan of film as I got progressively older. I was a fan of film when I was younger, but as I got older I got to see his roles. First thing I seen him in, probably Batman Forever. Yeah. And then obviously the Prince of Egypt, which is on that list. I didn't realise he was voicing Moses in the Prince of Egypt, but that was one of my favourite animated films growing up. I must have watched that a good 24 times minimum. I fucking loved that film. Just a phenomenal actor, incredibly varied. He could do biopics, he could do comic book movies, he could do serious drama movies, action movies, animated movies. An unbelievable actor, so charismatic, such a good looking guy as well. Just a sad loss, man. Also went through a lot with cancer and whatnot, so sad news to hear him passing away.
His last appearance on film, John, was Top Gun Maverick, and that sort of memorable scene with him and Tom Cruise.
It was a great film.
And yeah, a very emotional moment as well for both actors, I would have felt. A long history of coming through the business round about the same time, and obviously appearing in the first Top Gun film, which propelled them to superstardom, both of them, John. I'm not going to sit here and say, I was an avid follower of Val Kilmer's work, John, but you're absolutely right. When you talk about bullet pointing some of the standout performances, he was top drawer. And mentioned Top Gun, Willow. Was probably my introduction.
Mad Martigan, yeah.
To him, playing opposite Warwick Davis. And then as you get into the 1990s, although I wasn't a massive Doors fan, and I'm still not a massive Doors fan, I really liked that film because of Val Kilmer and his performance. And I did read somewhere that the surviving members of the Doors, when they heard Val Kilmer's singing, on tape, they actually believed it was Jim Morrison's voice. That's how good
that's a stunning performance
was. And then, as you said, John, Tombstone is probably the standout one.
It's my favourite performance of
his. John, I remember when you watched that, and you're a big Western fan, I'm not, but I did watch this at the time through a colleague I worked with at the time. and round about the early 90s, 93 I think the film came out. And I always remember you reviewing this when we first started doing Movie Burner Entertainment, and you were absolutely buzzing about. You're a big Kurt Russell fan, and that's a Kurt Russell film. But you were talking about Val Kilmer most of the time when you were talking about that film.
I mean, he stole the show, Stephen. It was a phenomenal performance. I think with Bill Paxton in there as well, Sam Elliott, a whole host of incredible actors in there. Even your man who played Johnny Ringo.
Yeah.
Incredible performances in that movie. Just obviously a historical biopic about real people, Wyatt Earp, and the story of him and his family. And I think he retired as a sheriff, and obviously trouble followed him. And it was all based in reality. Obviously, a lot of hearsay with Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo, but Doc Holliday, what a performance! I think he was suffering from tuberculosis, and he just had this sickly look throughout. So not only incredible from the makeup and the sort of set dressing side of things, because they made him look authentically ill, but just the performance he delivered was so nuanced and brilliant. Some incredible lines. I've memorised partly his interaction with Johnny Ringo at the end. You look like someone walked right over your grave. I'm your Huckleberry. We started something back there we never got to finish. Say when. I was just playing or messing. I wasn't. Just unbelievable. An incredible performance. And again, it shows you the range of the guy. Just little nuanced stuff going on in the film where he's drunk and Ringo comes in and he tries to act the big man because Holliday's reputation precedes him, and he's doing the show with the guns, and he does it with a cup, an empty cup, basically saying, mate, you may think I'm drunk and I'm off my game here, but I can do everything you can do with a fucking cup. And then at the end it all plays back in, he kills him. Yeah, I mean, for me that's my favourite performance of his.
Yeah. John, it's funny because up to that point, how big a fan I am of obviously the first two Tim Burton Batman films and Michael Keaton. And when obviously Keaton and Burton stepped away and Joel Schumacher came in, Joel Schumacher's a fantastic filmmaker, and I get there is apparently a cut out there of Batman Forever, which is the Schumacher cut, no studio interference, so I'm hoping we get to see that, John. But when Val Kilmer was announced as the new Batman, it was through the performance of Tombstone I knew they'd got the right guy for it because of his range, and I went, he's going to be an excellent Bruce Wayne. I know he is, just with his performance. And you talk about range, John, this guy could do comedy, he could do romance, he could do action, he could do thrillers. You know, we talk about Heat, which is one of the best films of the 1990s. And we always talk about Bob De Niro and we always talk about Al Pacino's performances. Val Kilmer played a big part in that film as well. And if it wasn't for Bob and Al being in that film, he probably would have been the top man in it, in terms of stars. But even through films like The Saint, which I enjoyed, I don't think it was well received over here. I thought it was a good film, and it was because of Val Kilmer, and...
He just had that ability to elevate a film. Which is a rare commodity. You've got a lot of great actors out there, but very few can take... I mean, let's not beat about the bush. Batman Forever's not the greatest Batman film that was ever made. Certainly growing up, I had a real love of it because it was probably aimed at my demographic. I was a very young kid when it came out. I want to say it was, 97 or something? 95. I was 6 years of age. So this was right up my street. I loved the Batmobile. I had it as a sort of toy when I was younger. Also Jim Carrey, I was a massive fan of Jim Carrey when I was younger, still am to this day. But again, he's sort of over the top physical acting. I loved The Mask, I loved Ace Ventura. He was in there, so I mean, it's a movie that I connected with. And looking now, it's probably not the best. You look at Rotten Tomatoes, if that's something you're interested in, it's in the 40% range. But I fucking loved the film as a kid, and it was probably my first brush with Batman. I dare say I watched the Burton ones after. So he was probably the first version of Batman I ever got to see. And
I thought it was a good Batman. Was the issue though, John. It was just
he was a great Batman.
Studio decisions, and the kind of tonally it shifted as well. It became a little bit more
campy,
light and airy, and I don't know if we're allowed to say that anymore.
I'm saying it. I mean, it's camp. I mean, that's
it's very Adam West. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, is that not what they say when they talk about Batman? I'm going to Batman 1960s. See if it comes up with camp. I'm fucking claiming it. I thought, it became a camp, absurdity and self-parody.
But I think Val Kilmer played the role very well, and I think he played a really good. I mean, there was a lot of psychology in that film to do with Bruce Wayne as well, you know, and obviously Nicole Kidman playing the doctor, the psychologist, playing opposite Val Kilmer was a big part of that, you know, and just it's something they didn't really delve really into until obviously the Dark Knight trilogy, where you understand his sort of fear and his phobia of bats, etc. You know, but this was sort of first film that they really, I think they delved into it, you know, into the sort of psychosis of Bruce Wayne. Obviously, the Michael Keaton ones highlighted it, you know, with the flashback scenes of his mum and dad getting murdered and stuff like that. But there was something about Val Kilmer as well. I thought it's a very hard thing for anyone to come in and you know, take over the role from Michael Keaton because he did it so well.
Who's arguably one of the, if not the greatest Bruce Waynes.
I think he's been
Batman overall, but certainly Bruce Wayne. I think he's the greatest Bruce Wayne. I mean, I liked Bale's Bruce Wayne. There was sort of comedic edge to his sort of public-facing version of himself, his personality, where he's coming in and buying hotels and frolicking about in fountains and whatnot. But there was a serious edge to Michael Keaton. There was a darkness within the character when he was playing Bruce Wayne. So for me, I think he's the greatest Bruce Wayne ever. I think probably Bale's got a real sort of edge when it comes to Batman overall, because I just love the Nolan trilogy. I love the groundedness of it, the grittiness of it. But I mean, you're right, Stephen Kilmer coming in after Michael Keaton, that's big shoes to fill. But I thought he'd done a great job, man. I like the film. I'm not going to change my opinion now because everyone thinks it's fucking crap and retro in hindsight. I was young, and much like the prequels.
This kind of path that a lot of actors do after sort of the heights of the 1990s, where they're in lesser films. I'm going to say, I'm not going to beat around the bush. They're lesser films, you know, and you don't see them as much, and they're in a lot more films than they usually would be, because they're just sort of, I don't want to say phoning it in or anything like that.
Yeah, Robert De Niro. Yeah,
actors like Nicolas Cage do this thing where they just rattle through a lot of films, and some are hits and some are just go right under the radar. And I think Val Kilmer was at that stage, and I think perhaps maybe because of his acting abilities and how he could change his range in different genres, if he didn't if he didn't fall foul to obviously his illnesses, I do believe that he could have been in the next Tarantino film. He's at that stage in his sort of career, you know,
where he gets a second win,
massive star, you know, and he's getting that second win, and I think that's where it would have probably ended up.
I didn't realise he was in the Snowman. I remember watching that. That was the Liam Neeson film. I really enjoyed that. That's another film that's got a poor rating.
Yeah,
I quite liked that.
Tell the Eye he was in as well, which I watched and I thought it was good. But again, it's those sort of appearances. He's not the main star, you know.
No, but I mean, he'll be sadly missed. He was a phenomenal actor, just hugely inspirational figure in the 1990s, and also that continues to resonate into the current day. And it's just sad when you lose people of that standing, because sadly, and this may be controversial, but I don't think we're getting actors of that charisma and standing now. The new generation coming up are just wet wipe, underwhelming, beige. I can't think of one actor that could fucking fill the shoes of a Val Kilmer or any of the greats from prior to that, the 1980s, 70s, 60s, like so Gene Hackman, who's passed away recently. I mean, there's no one of that calibre or presence.
We obviously covered Gene Hackman after his sad passing. I was actually watching a video the other day. Do you remember that series Inside the Actor's Studio? I loved it.
Yeah, it was phenomenal,
It was Gene Hackman who was on it, and the host, I can't remember his name, the bearded chap with the glasses, but he was asking about Gene Hackman, and his father just disappeared one day, just left him as a kid. And he always remembers his dad just driving past him in the street and waving to him. That was one of the very last things he saw. And Gene Hackman was getting really emotional about this. This was like 60 years on from.
Yeah, I mean, that's PTSD. That would affect you greatly.
It was incredible to watch, John. It really was, you know. And I mean, just.
But it's those kind of moments, Stephen, that shape an individual. You tend to think people who've had issues like that in an earlier part of their life. Also, John Lennon's a classic one. Father abandoned him. Mother obviously tragically killed. Kind of abandoned him and then came back into his life. Hit with an off-duty police officer. Killed. That kind of empowers people to go out and make a name for themselves. That tragedy, that sort of, don't know, the troubled past or whatever, the demons within, they almost power them to be something really special. You tend to find the most damaged people who have got real issues going on, become unbelievably successful. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's definitely something that drives them, and that takes a lot of strength, great strength. And I was watching that last scene with Val Kilmer again with Tom Cruise and Maverick, John. It's quite an emotional scene because he's obviously struggling with his voice at this point.
A wee bit there.
And I think Val is using like a keyboard to sort of type in his responses to Tom Cruise's character. And, he does speak at the very end of it, and it's a great scene between the two of them, and it looks very personal. It looks very personal.
Stephen, I thought that film was brilliant. That film got a lot of backlash afterwards because I think it got nominated for some Academy Awards and all, so there was the usual sort of political side to it, where I think because it was promoting a more masculine kind of energy, and we know that's not allowed in current society. There was a lot of blowback on it. People didn't understand why it was so popular. It's not difficult to understand. It's connecting a hugely successful film from way back with multiple superstar actors in there, Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer. And the way that they connect, there's just some brilliant little sombre moments and poignant moments in there. Like he goes into the bar and he sees them all partying, a new generation that takes him back to when he was young. There's just loads of little moments in there that connect beautifully. I thought it was a fucking great film.
I remember the backlash, John, and I remember these ridiculous reasons for the backlash as well. And it's the same people that will create a film that goes totally the opposite way of what you just described.
Yeah.
And their answer to that is, this film's not made for you. Okay, not watch it then. So
exactly,
watch Top Gun Maverick. That film is not made for you.
It's not made for you. Yeah, it's made for fans of the original and fans of great action films in general, who want to go out and escape the ills of the world and just be wild. And it'd be fair to Tom Cruise, that's something he does do consistently. He tries to go out and make people forget their troubles with the likes of Mission Impossible and whatnot. So whether they succeed is another thing. So look, again, I don't have much more to say about Val and the passing, but other than to say that it didn't really surprise me when the news broke, Stephen. Sometimes when actors pass away or famous people pass away, you're genuinely stunned by it. The one I always think of is Chadwick Boseman, because it really did. I didn't realise how ill the guy was. I hadn't seen him in the Instagram sort of videos and whatnot, promoting the charity right up until the last moment, how frail he was. So when you sent that message to me that time when he passed away, that was a genuine air leaving my lungs, complete surprise, stunned. With Val, it wasn't as much a surprise because I know he was battling a lot of issues with his health and whatnot, so it didn't surprise me greatly, but also still fucking sad as hell when you lose someone of this standing.
Yeah. Someone that's been part of your childhood, especially Batman.
Yeah, of course. And as I says, I didn't know he was in Prince of Egypt. I actually forgot all about that film, but I remember that being a brilliant, brilliant film about Moses and obviously his story leading were they called? The Jacobites? I can't know. It wasn't Jacobites. That's fucking Scotland. It was the slaves out of Egypt. It was a classic biblical tale, wasn't it? I loved that film as a young guy. I watched it so many times. I didn't even realise Val Kilmer was the guy voicing. So again, like I said before, it just shows you how versatile an actor he was. That he could do voice acting.
He did a few animated films, John. He did one. It wasn't Cars. It was an aeroplane version of Cars. I can't remember what it's called.
Have a look. See if I can find it.
But I remember he did quite a few animated films as well. He had quite a distinct voice, at his peak. And they had the charisma as well on screen in terms of live action as well, John. And you need that when you're playing a role
Was it Planes?
like Bruce Wayne. Planes.
Bravo,
yeah.
That is like Cars, you're right. It looks like it's maybe a spin-off.
I don't know what it's called. Yeah, Planes.
But but talking about voice acting, you see Robin Williams in Aladdin and whatnot. You see really talented actor in terms of live action, they can go in and lend their talents to voice acting. It's a specific art that you find a lot of actors transitioning into who are not as successful in live action. The likes of Mark Hamill, obviously, most notably. Not saying he's been a failure as an actor, but he did transition into more voice acting and also became a legendary Joker in his own right.
Usually actors that are typecast, that's what happens.
Yeah, they have to go away.
In fact, it's probably because they played the role so well.
Yeah.
You know, it
They're renowned for that.
Marks them for life, you know.
But we've seen that with Daniel Radcliffe with Harry Potter. He didn't go into voice acting, but he went into stage working and went to Broadway and whatnot. So, and also Robert Pattinson went completely off-piste and done independent movies. That's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
When you come up in a specific role and you're renowned for it, you have to go and do something completely different and reset. Val didn't really do that though. He was just fucking tremendous. Decided he wanted to do voice acting and he done it very, very well. He was in Jay and Silent Bob, by the way. I've not seen that reboot. I don't think I will.
Oh yeah, I've not seen that either.
Yeah, I loved the original. I loved that, man. Loved those films. Yeah. I was gonna go to class, but then I got high. Then I got high.
That song came on. That song came on in McDonald's the other day.
That's a random thing to put up. That was such a good song, man. I remember that back in the day. Was that Ashton Kutcher? I can't remember if he was in that as well. I may be tripping. I think I'm tripping. He was in a film. Ashton Kutcher was in a film with Kevin, blanking on his name, terrible.
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith, yeah, I was going to say that, but then a Hart came into my mind. I'm like, it's definitely not Kevin Hart. He was in, what was the film he was in with? He was in a film with Ashton Kutcher, I'm sure it was. Was it the one with Matt Damon? Dogma?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember.
I may be talking shit here. I may have just been making that up completely. Dogma was a film. Ben Affleck was in it. Matt Damon was in it. Kevin Smith was in it. Ashton Kutcher, I don't think was in it. So I just made that up. That's a false memory. Maybe it's a Mandela effect. And now I'm going to go off piece completely and search up Kevin Smith.
Now you're going to check and see if Kevin Smith and Matt Damon were in Dude, Where's My Car?
That's what I was thinking. Dude, Where's My Car? I was thinking of multiple. No, they weren't in anything together. That's a complete false memory. That's when I was young. That's my fucking get out. I was young. It was before my time. But shall we move on, Stephen? To the news of Grand Theft Auto 6. I believe there's been a leak somewhere. Let's see if I can get that up. Phenomenal graphics work there from me. You can tell that took me a huge amount of time to do. Terrible. There's been a leak. We'll go to this. See if we can make this work. I'm going to have to manually select it because it's a pain in the ass. Real pain in the butt. Goddamn pain in the butt, man. That's so small, you need it's like a fucking eye test.
Someone's been looking at the guitars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking at guitars. Not been looking at acoustics though, so I don't know why that's coming up. Clearly Gear for Music have had my business before and have decided they're going to try and rinse me with more.
Your ASMR come up, John?
Oh yeah, I love ASMR. I openly admit it. I mean, I talk about that in work and everything. There's people out there who, that's a dirty little secret for them. They listen to ASMR and they're like, if someone walks in, I have to click it down. I give a fucking shit. I fall asleep to it every night. ASMR's brilliant. It's like getting a head massage, but you're just sitting there listening to stuff, chilling, doing things, maybe editing or whatnot. It's great. It's a good alternative.
You know that headache thing I've got? Well, you can actually get one that goes round your eyes and your ears, and it's like Bluetooth.
I need to get that because I use my AirPods, and the AirPods are just raping the shit out of my ears. I'm going to end up with a severe wax blockage in one of my ears, and I end up having to go into hospital because I'm just wearing the AirPods on the nightly. But Dual Shockers is a website. Never heard of it. Clearly, big PlayStation fans because that's the name of the controller on the PlayStation, famously, have wrote this article. Jake Valentine, more specifically, said a week after the shock of Nintendo announcing that the Nintendo Switch 2 would feature games costing as much as $90, a European retailer temporarily put a price tag on the Grand Theft Auto 6 listing, and there it is there, $99, which I think converts to $114.99, which if we were to go onto a currency converter, I'm pretty damn sure that would be in the £90 range in the United Kingdom, which is
eye-wateringly
expensive.
Eye-wateringly. Before you move on though, I did look at this. The cost of GTA 5 in 2013 was between $60 and $70. And I don't know what, obviously, in terms of
there's been a lot of inflation.
Inflation between 2013 and
there has.
2025, 12 years. There won't be much, but yeah, I mean, I'm not really bothered about the price, I'll be honest with you.
Not for this game.
But it's the knock-on effect it's going to have in terms of... And I know you said this was Nintendo that kind of...
Yeah, Nintendo announced the Switch 2 last week, and they announced that the console would retail for $450, I think, in the United States. I think it's about £300 here. The bundle was $500. Digital gains were $80. I think that's about £60 here, and $90, which is about £70 here for the physical copy. But they're even more of a con, Nintendo, because as Angry Joe, who I watched reacting to because I knew he would love it, rightly said, Nintendo fans are a whole different niche entirely. They go out their way to buy physical games, to have a physical library in their house with games going way back to GameCube, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, whatnot. So Nintendo are almost going out their way to con the most avid and hardcore fans of their products out of their hard-earned cash. And even more, it's a fucking code inside the actual case. It's not a physical copy of the game. You put it into the console and the whole game's there. You have to go in, put this code in and download the game anyway. So you're basically just buying an empty plastic case with a code. It's a complete con. But Stephen, it really strikes at the heart of just modern day video games, the pricing and what these developers are doing with games when they release them now. It's half-arsed. They're putting out unfinished products which are full of bugs and issues, and they're crashing, and people are having to pay full whack for it and then wait weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months, for them to patch and get the game up to an acceptable standard. It's completely unacceptable for the vast majority of games to be retailing at the prices they are. And look, whilst you probably agree that for GTA, I'm willing to pay £80, £90 for GTA because it's a once in a generation in terms of video games experience. You know the story and the innovation technically and whatnot is going to be top of the tree. They are the toppermost of the poppermost, Rockstar. We were just talking about Red Dead. We play it still to this day online. It's like 7, 8 years old. Visually, it holds up to modern games. It's unbelievable what they accomplished with that game. That's what you're going to get on steroids with GTA 6. They will wait and wait and wait to release it at the right time. You don't mind paying a premium for their games because you know you're getting something special. But it has a knock-on effect on the lesser companies and their games. They think, well, if they're charging that, then we can charge it. And their games aren't worth it. And it just inflates everything.
Yeah, I actually checked an inflation calculator there, a US one that is, just to sort of convert the dollar. And if in 2013 you purchased an item for $65, then in 2025 it would be $89.
So it's still a little steep.
Maybe about $11, $10 shy of obviously what Nintendo have announced.
Well, I mean, Nintendo came out and kind of fought their corner and says that Mario Kart is definitely worth $80. They're adamant that it's worth the price they are selling it for. And to be fair, Stephen, if you're saying inflation equates to, what was it, $89? Then they're actually
$89.
They're actually selling it cheaper than inflation. They're not accounting for inflation. They're actually they're digging under inflation, so it's actually cheaper.
Yeah.
Obviously, people don't want to pay more for things. I understand it, but that's just the way of the world now. Modern life, things are getting more and more expensive. The bills are getting more expensive. Everything, eggs, fucking bananas, milk, everything gets more expensive year in, year out. I don't know why. Exactly, fuck. Rapeseed oil, olive oil. You're talking like £6 for a fucking bottle of oil. I mean, it's good shit, but come on, what are we doing here? Am I getting it physically taken out of the olive trees in Palestine? Or Giza? No, Giza. Gaza. We're not going to Egypt. Although I'm sure Egypt do fantastic olive trees. I'm not disparaging them. I think that whole region, the Mediterranean in general, renowned for olive trees. I know for a fact Turkey's got them. So, but I digress. Everything goes up. So if the price of oil is going up, cooking oil, actual oil that's used to make petrol and whatnot to put in your car, everything's going through the roof. I don't know why people are so surprised at video games. It is eye-watering though, and it is a fucking joke, but that's life.
It's because it's related to video game. People are still in the mindset of video game. It's a game. It's just a game. Why does it cost so much for a game? But it's, you know, games have evolved certainly since obviously the last instalment of GTA 5. You're going to see this in terms of just the whole experience. I mean, it looks phenomenal, obviously, from the trailer, but you're talking about a bigger map. We've seen how big this map is potentially going to be. It's going to have more. It's going to be more lived in. John, you talked about Red Dead Redemption. It was one of the sort of plus points of Red Dead Redemption 2's online is in single player as well. It's lived in. You know, and there's people just going about their business in this thing. I'm talking about
workers,
programmed characters, not online players who can do what they want. I'm talking about just. John, you talked about intimidating people and getting a reaction out of them and that kind of thing. And that, as you said, I think GTA 6 is going to be that on steroids. It's going to be incredibly immersive, and it's going to be. I would say, you know, it's been 12, 13 years since the last instalment, and there's a good reason for that, because these games do have a long shelf life. They're evergreen content, if you want to call it that, and GTA 6 is going to be that as well, but on steroids. It's going to be a massive game, and it's going to have what Rockstar do, and they do well, and they do it to the point it pisses a lot of people off, is they do a lot of instalments online add-ons.
I don't see what the issue with that is, to be honest with you. Someone who plays a lot of Dead by Daylight, they're constantly updating, introducing new cosmetics, killers, things into the game. That's what you want. You want the game to be supported through the course of its sort of shelf life. You don't want them to just release it and then forget about it. You want the developers and people involved in the game to actually support it and support the community. I don't see what the issue is with that. And obviously the likes of Elder Scrolls back in the day, all of that burden has fell on the community to mod it and make the likes of Skyrim continue to evolve with modern day. Obviously I went down a rabbit hole with sim racing at one point, and you've got the likes of Assetto Corsa, where it's a whole community of people who have took this game that's like a decade old, or simulator that's a decade old, and have turned it into something that's just incredible, with physics and rain and nighttime and lighting and cars and everything, just transformed it. Sometimes the community has to step up and do that, but other times you've got developers like Rockstar who realise there's a market for new content coming out on a regular basis, so they support the game. They make money, everyone's happy. I don't see what the issue is with that. I don't understand that criticism. It's not like they're not releasing other games. They've released fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 in that time, which is a massive game, technologically, I don't know, advanced, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Ambitious project they've released, and then they've been working on GTA 6 since then. It's like, I treat them like Daniel Day-Lewis in video games. Or like a Tarantino or a Nolan. They're not going to release something every 2 years. This isn't EA or Activision. No. They bide their time and wait until it's ready and it's special and it's an event, which is why they can get away with charging these kind of figures. I would pay £200 fucking for a GTA game if I knew it was going to be worth it. I wouldn't give a shit.
You know what you're getting out of it, John. It's not like something that comes around that often, like FIFA and stuff like that. And you can just, I mean, I've bypassed FIFA this year because I know it's going to come out next year, and I'll just get it next year. Whereas with GTA, you know, this could be the last one for a long time. Probably, maybe, you know, next one that comes out, I'll be a pensioner. You just don't know, you know. So I'll be getting it. I
don't think you'll be that old, Stephen. Not a chance. I mean, it's been...
You never know.
Saying that with GTA or Rockstar, you do. You never know. Maybe they'll go and change it to a different franchise. What I want to see moving forward from them, though, is I want to see something completely different. We spoke about this, where they almost go and do, what was that game called? Cyberpunk. Where it's, instead of going back into the past and it's the 70s, the 80s, or modern day, go off and give us a futuristic kind of thing. We've had the Westerns, we've had the 70s, we've had the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, current day. I want to see them tackle... Yeah, LA Noir, it's like 50s, 40s.
Yeah.
I want to see them tackle this kind of game, genre of video game, but in the future, and see what they give us. Because we've seen others try it, and it's been all right. Cyberpunk was all right, but Rockstar are the daddies for me. So I want to see them doing something different.
Yeah, something like... I'm trying to think of a comparison in terms of... maybe a Blade Runner sort of.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
You know? I don't know. I think it's something to explore, I think. It's something I think they could even... It doesn't have to be multiplayer online gaming or anything like that. They can just create it for single player, like they did with LA Noire, which was just a single player game. And it was a very good game. It was a very good detective game, but something maybe set in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this and honestly I'm baffled by this because they're acting like this hasn't been a relatively normal thing for a long time now. Will £75 be the new normal for video games after Switch 2's Mario Kart? Digital versions of games have always been exorbitant. They've always been very expensive. For the Xbox, they're £70, £80. They're always mega dear. I don't get why this is even a thing. They're always dear. I don't quite understand why digital games are dearer than physical. That's something I've never understood. Obviously with Nintendo it's not. The physical's dearer. But it used to be that they were marked up on the physical versions of a game, which is fucking wild to me. But they've always been very expensive. I don't quite understand why this is even a story. Stephen, was this something you'd be interested in? No, would you buy a Switch 2? Is that something takes your fancy?
I don't mind the Switch at all. I'm actually looking at some retro handheld games that keep coming up my Facebook feed, and they look incredible. The retro gaming.
Yeah, like the Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean it's got Game Boy, Mega Drive, Genesis is the Mega Drive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo. It's got it's you know the Nintendo 64. It's all built into this. It's like 20,000 games or something. It sounds like I'm trying to pitch this, as an advert on our show. But I like the Nintendo stuff. I do like a lot of the Switch stuff. And the last Mario Kart game I played was on the Switch.
Yeah.
And it was until they started charging you to play online.
Yeah, that was shit. Yeah, I used to love going on and playing people. It was brilliant.
Well, I just when you're talking about gaming there and £75 for that game. Do you know something that back in 1994?
They were so expensive, man. The Nintendo 64 games were fucking crazy dear. We were talking about it. They were like £60 back then.
That I purchased in 1994, 31 years ago, VR racing, and it was for the Mega Drive. It was like a built-in 32X. It was called. It was like a mushroom you slotted into the cartridge slot, and it gave you 32X power on it. And it was one of the first sort of 3D games was VR racing. In the United Kingdom, it was £70 for that in 1994.
Yeah, they were crazy.
So this isn't a new thing. It's not a new thing. I think it's about $100 in the US in 1994. So a lot of money. But
Stephen, you had to go and rent games. That's what Angry Joe was talking about with the two guys. I don't know what their name is. They were talking about it. This isn't revolutionary. Games have always been expensive. Going back to the 90s when I was a kid, we had to go to Global Video and fucking rent games.
Games are always expensive.
They were crazy dear. Crazy expensive. So it's not brand new. I mean, there's something unique about video games. They stand aside from the likes of music and movies. They're their own sort of medium of storytelling and enjoyment. They've been demonised for so long about they ruin kids and fucking they cause violence and all this bollocks. But it's now coming out that people who grew up playing games extensively have got better reaction times and they're maybe more coordinated and whatnot. There is definitely... Also, if you sit in a room all day doing absolutely fucking nothing but playing games, then that's unhealthy. But there's nothing wrong with video games, and going back when I was a kid, they've always been a unique form of storytelling. They've been something different, and they deserve to have pricing that reflects that. I mean, these people are working blood, sweat and tears. Certainly for the likes of the Nintendo games, these games don't come out every year. Mario Kart, the last Mario Kart, I think it was remastered from the Wii U. So it's not like we're getting Mario Kart games every 2 years. They're 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the making. The Mario games, the platform games, 3, 4, 5 years in the making. If you're taking that long to develop a game, and the artwork and the animation and the story, then you deserve to be financially rewarded for it. Now, the likes of FIFA can't be selling for £90 because that's a fucking reskin with minimal effort, with in-game gambling. That's a whole different kit and caboodle. You can't be having those kind of games selling for £100. That's taking the piss. But these kind of games, is it first party, is that what you call it? There's a specific term. Sort of AAA games from Nintendo. Games like Naughty Dog games on the PlayStation and big games on the Xbox. I've got no issues with them charging a premium because they deserve it, because they put good work in.
As you say, John, it takes maybe 4 or 5 years to develop these games and release them, which is longer than any film. You can make probably 3 films back to back in that time. And I think there has to be a level of appreciation with what goes into, developing these games to make them the best version they can be when they're released to the public. And we saw that in GTA 5 in 2013, a long wait. I think the gap, was 5 years at that point between GTA 4 and GTA 5. And it was well worth the wait. I know we've had to wait a little bit longer, but there's been a lot of changes in terms of how video games are accessed in that time, in terms of digital download, and obviously the upscaling of consoles as well is a big part to it. The sort of possibilities, because Rockstar could have just released these games on PC easily. They wouldn't have sold as much, but in terms of where they were wanting to take that to the next level, would have been probably in PC.
Yeah.
And the likes of Microsoft with Xbox and Sony with the PlayStation weren't quite at that level at that period, and they are now. And we will see it. Obviously with the next generation consoles will be coming around the corner once again.
Well, I was going to mention that. I mean,
I think they're in a good place now.
There was speculation about that, where they'll basically just be PCs at this point, the new consoles. They're going to be essentially PCs, mini PCs, which is powerful, obviously, because obviously that's what stands them apart. You build a PC, it's a fucking fortune. Even for a mid-level PC. I mean, I spent £1,500–1,600 building that fucking thing. I'm using this to edit and game on. It's all right for Quad HD, but it's not a top-of-the-range gaming PC by any means, and it's probably well out of date already. The actual consoles, what Sony, Microsoft and Nintendo to a lesser extent accomplish with the processing power and whatnot they put into it, at a price range of like £400–500, it's remarkable. I mean, you struggle to get a graphics card that's half decent for that price. I had to buy a used AMD Radeon, like top tier, older Radeon graphics card, and it still costs £300.
Yeah.
That's nearly the price of a console. So
it's crazy.
I don't know how they're going to evolve gaming consoles, but they're always obviously more casual. People who game on PCs are more fucking fanatic. And I've stopped gaming on my PC now. I just can't be arsed with it. I just edit and whatnot on here now. I've just got the Xbox. I'd rather play on the big telly now, TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going down rabbit holes buying 240 hertz monitors and all this shit. It's all that fucking crap. Snake oil. I can't notice the difference between a 60 hertz TV and a 240 hertz monitor. It's bullshit. I maintain it. It's absolute box. It's like guitars with capacitors and tone knobs and pots and all this shit. It's complete nonsense. Absolute pish to separate you from your money. But I digress. It'll be interesting to see how they evolve consoles, what the price point will be if they are just basically PCs but more accessible. Everything's getting more expensive, so I'm sure people will be whinging in a couple of years about the cost of the new Xbox or the new PC, what they look like. It's going to be interesting. I'm intrigo, as I famously said one time. Why are we in this fucking screen, by the way? Shall we move on though, Stephen?
Yeah.
To the next topic. The next topic being, I believe, Pete Best,
No.
former Beatles drummer, has announced he's retiring. I've said he retires because I couldn't get retiring in the graphics part, but he's retiring, I do believe.
Yeah.
Now, normally I would have said, I didn't even realise he was still drumming.
Yeah.
But I was looking into Pete relatively recently, and I did look into what he was up to, and he's still been drumming. Which, fair play to him, man. If you have a setback like getting kicked out the greatest band of all time before it even kicks off, in earnest, and then you decide you want to get back to drumming, then I tip my hat to you, mate, because I would have PTSD, not want to come out my house ever again, let alone go behind a drum kit again. That would just bring up bad memories. So I commend him for continuing with the drumming for as long as he has. Obviously, he's getting older now. He must be in his 80s. He's 83. So obviously, you get to a certain age, physically, you're just not capable of drumming anymore to the same level. I can't say I've seen any of his recent stuff, Stephen. I don't know if you have. What he's been up to.
No, not recently. I've seen some of his stuff from, the past. Between now and the 1980s, I've seen his sort of performances, and listen, I'm not a drum expert or anything like that by any means, but he didn't have the same sort of groove as Ringo and the same personality as Ringo. I think that was one of the biggest issues, was it? He just didn't have that fit. And although you can have your friends in your band, but the sort of bigger picture is if you want to be the best, you have to, pardon the pun, you have to obviously have the best, and I do feel sorry for the guy, to be fair, because as you said, psychologically that affects you for the rest of your life. No matter what you do, you're never going to top the Beatles in terms of
and you were there
in a band, a top band. And and having that sort of constant reminder of what could have been, and I know that he's made appearances on Letterman, in the past, and he's probably released books as well, and his story to the newspapers and stuff like that. But it's never going to make up the sort of everything that he missed, and it was just one of those opportunities, or missed opportunities in his case, that just wasn't meant to be, and I think no one can sort of imagine Ringo not being there, so I think the way it was treated was probably pretty shabbily, but listen, the guy's continued on for the best part of 7 decades, what it may be. I would say probably 7, because he probably was in his teens when he first started playing the drums, so he's been doing it a long time. But as you said, especially a physical instrument like drums, you have to be pretty fit, and I think Ringo's pretty fit for a guy his age. But I hope he enjoys his retirement. I know he got a kind of slight financial boost in the mid-90s with the Beatles anthology, because his drumming appeared on a couple of the early, I think, Decca recordings. In Anthology 1 CD. So there was a financial boost there. I think he made a few million out of it. So small sort of wins, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, because he missed out on all those experiences with the other 3 guys, in terms of going to America and going to India and Australia and likes, making those films in the mid-60s, and who knows where it would have took him if things turned out differently, and I'm sure that's probably went through his head a few times as well. I did read, John, and maybe someone in the comment section can correct me here if I'm wrong, but I think I might be wrong in saying this. It might just be tabloid chat, but I think there was his mental health was affected badly by it, for a long time, and it takes a strong person to come through that.
I think he's always remained quite humble and gracious about it though, Stephen. I've seen him on chat shows talking about it, and he's never came across as being bitter. Obviously the rationale for why he get kicked out, being a little bit dour, not as sharp-witted, not as technically gifted on the drums, that could probably annoy people, and I'm sure it annoyed him when he was younger, but certainly as he matured, he didn't seem to have any bitterness towards the other Beatles members. I think he realised it was probably the right decision for the band. Maybe not for him personally, but for the band, having Ringo in there. Ringo is a great drummer. There's a lot of shit gets chatted about Ringo.
Maybe it's a private thing with Pete Best though, John, that I don't think he'd come out and say that. But no. I think maybe, you know, in his own sort of mind, he's made peace with that. And I think the thing that probably bothered him the most was he didn't understand the reason, and there was no official sort of reason. It was just, you're out and that's it kind of thing. And I don't think he was able to have closure on the actual reason. So, I mean,
it was heavily hinted, wasn't it? It was just, he was late over in Hamburg. He wasn't turning up for performances. Ringo had to come in. Obviously, personality-wise, he just didn't connect with the other three. The other three were very sharp and quick and had a certain kind of humour. Ringo matched that. Obviously, in terms of looks and height, I think Pete would have probably been a better fit. I don't think there's many people out there would say that Ringo was better looking than Pete Best. Obviously, he's much shorter in stature, whereas Pete was a little bit tall. I'm not saying he was tall, but he was certainly closer to the other three. So in terms of aesthetics, he would have probably been a better fit. But personality and drumming, I don't think there can be any argument that Ringo was definitely the better drummer. Much sharper of wit, one of the sharper ones. And you've seen that Stephen Ian getting into the 80s. You can tell he's hitting the drink and whatnot, and he's maybe not in a great place. He's talking about insomnia and whatnot, the loss of John, but he still maintains that sharp wit, Ringo. Even into the 80s, even into the 2000s, probably now, he's a very sharp guy. So I can understand. I feel for him. I'm glad he's had a career outside of the Beatles. Obviously, he's not been anywhere near as famous, but he's had a career. He's made his peace with it. Now he can retire and have a quiet life in his 80s, hopefully live a very long life. Because, I mean, it's we've seen what happened to the other unofficial Beatles. Well, he was an official Beatles member. He didn't even make it into his fucking 20s or late 20s, mid-20s. Stuart Sutcliffe I'm talking about. So, you can always, there's always wins in life, little wins in life. You didn't die of a brain hemorrhage. You had a life. You had a drumming career. You weren't a Beatle when they became big, but you've got the memories, and that's all that matters. But what is life if not for memories? It's about while you're being in memories, you know, and living forever and all that jazz. But did they say anything? I do wonder. I'm going to bring this up very quickly and read it. I've not actually read the article in depth. I think he did. Wrote Best's younger brother, so it was Rogue, his brother, who wrote, well, what an absolutely wonderful ride we've had. However, everything comes to pass. My brother Pete Best has announced today he's retiring from personal appearances and performing with the group. His daughter has informed me it's due to personal circumstances. Well, I hope he's not got anything going on in terms of health issues. Hopefully he's healthy, man. And it's just maybe he's getting older, he just can't do it. Had a blast, thank you. That's what Pete wrote. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, Stephen. Obviously, you feel sorry for the guy, because when you've got situations like his, I mean, it's not, I can't think of very many other than maybe Brian Jones and the Rolling Stones, where obviously turned heavily to drugs, but he did have the fame and the fortune. He just wasn't built for it. And you can talk about the demise of Brian and what happened to him. Did he kill himself? Was he murdered? There's a whole conspiracy with that, but I think it's pretty clear. Keith Richards and Mick Jagger and the other Stones were with him. And obviously Keith didn't treat him greatly. I think he stole his girlfriend and married her. There was a lot of stuff going on in the studio and whatnot. But it's pretty clear Brian wasn't cut out for fame. So, and obviously the way that he shuffled off the mortal coil wasn't phenomenal. But we've seen this before. There's stories like this where people do maybe depart bands at different stages and they go on to have even more success and they're maybe left behind. I don't know where I'm going with that, because Brian Jones, I'd argue the Stones were better with Brian Jones, but that's another thing entirely.
The thing is, you're right, some people just aren't built for fame, and who knows what would have came of Pete Best if he remained in the Beatles, would have been able to handle it. Because I think, what was the phrase, mean, moody and magnificent? I think he came across, you know, in those early interviews and appearances very awkward and shy. You know, he wasn't pretty comfortable with the attention in those early days. So you just don't know. I mean, it's definitely a what-if situation, isn't it? And I mean, listen, he's remained consistent in terms of making his own music and doing his own thing. I think it's just that sort of will to live and will to succeed to a certain level, because you have to make peace with the fact that you're not in the Beatles anymore, and there's nothing going to. I mean, Paul McCartney kind of went through this after the fame, didn't he? Where he knew his next step was not going to be the Beatles, and I think that depressed him. It really depressed him. So this is a sort of flip side of that. With Pete Best, he kind of had to sort of negotiate his way through life, not knowing what could have been. And in terms of Paul McCartney, he'd experienced all this, and then it came to a sudden halt. So they've all had their sort of trials and tribulations from being part of this band in some way or another. I noticed in that Rolling Stone magazine article there, they mentioned Pete Best as the original fifth Beatle. I don't regard him as a fifth Beatle. He was a Beatle.
He was a Beatle. There was no fifth Beatle at that point.
Yeah,
there was only four.
I mean, that would imply. I suppose you could say, if you're going to do that, then Stu Sutcliffe must have been the fourth one, because there were five of them at that time. So maybe that's the way they're sort of wording it. But
I mean, Stuart would have been the fourth, because he was there when there was only three of them, and obviously he bought the bass guitar, didn't he, with his art money. I think he sold a painting, didn't he?
Sold a painting,
yeah. And they forced him to buy a bass, and they had to play in the wrong key and everything, and turn away. Poor bastard. Yeah, I mean, Stuart's a whole other thing. I mean, that's just tragic what happened to him. That's a whole other story, really. And obviously, I'm going to let my dog in 2 seconds, because he's there you go, he's in anyway. There's my dog in. Here, you want to come up and see? Yeah, there you go, there's my dog in. You were whining at the door, my man. Yeah, there's my dog. Yep. There's Harley on. What have you got to say about Stuart Sutcliffe and Pete Best? Right, there you go, back down. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, the fifth Beatle, I'm not having that, Steve. He certainly wasn't the fifth Beatle. He was a Beatle. The dark and mysterious and moody Beatle. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think he'd have been cut out for it, Stephen. I mean, it's one thing being moody and mysterious in Liverpool in the Cavern Club, but it's a whole other thing when you're in the middle of a storm, where you've got people fighting to get at you, you've not got any peace and quiet, you've got no real life outside of touring in the early days. I think that's a specific challenge for really special people, and those four guys certainly had it. I don't think Pete would have had it to make it. I think Ringo ultimately, again, was the right choice. So, also we're getting off piece because he's retired, and we're bringing Ringo in, his arch nemesis, back into the conversation. I'm sure if Pete was unfortunate enough to see us talking, he'd be wanting to kill us. He'd be like, "What are you talking about him? Fucking bastard, stole my job. Stop talking about him. This is about me and me retiring. He's over in LA and I'm stuck here. Stop talking about that wee guy." I'm just looking at these adverts. Aging like fine wine. 9 women who look better after 50. What are you giving me that? What are you trying to say? Fucking 36. I'm not interested in women after 50. Behave yourself. He's like a fucking bull. He's come into the room and is absolutely destroying things round about me. Jesus H. Christ. But I digress, Dean. If we get anything else to say, or shall we move on to a topic about another drummer from another band? What is going on here, man? I'm going to go to a wide shot to see if we can see this. We can't see it. Just poking his nose through. He's under the desk now. Fantastic. Fantastic. The Doctor. Shall we move on to topic? Christopher Eccleston. He played John Lennon. Topic 3, Tony McCarroll. Original drummer of Oasis. Again, this sounds like a sort of a tragic conversation of left out drummers who are looking misty-eyed at what could have been. Pete Best could have been a Beatle. He could have been retired 30 years ago, living the high life like Ringo in LA, touring with his buds whenever he wants to. And obviously that wasn't to be. Now he's retiring at 83, probably with much less money. And Tony McCarroll obviously get booted out of my dog is fucking killing me. Tony McCarroll. Tony McLaughlin get booted out of Oasis after the first album, didn't he?
Yeah.
And obviously he's wrote, and look, to be fair, again, it's a fairly gracious letter he's wrote to the other members of the band, in obviously regards to the reunion and the tour that's coming.
Yeah.
Not at all
Give him a
auditioning to be in the actual band. Not at all.
No.
But what's your thoughts on Tony, Stephen? I mean, that was a particularly harsh one, wasn't it? Because when you think of the original lineup, you think of Live Forever and songs like that. It's his fucking drumming.
Slightly different to the Pete Best situation. This guy actually made it onto an album, and
he was good.
I know that people say technically he wasn't
I thought he was
a
decent.
gifted drummer, but in terms of the sound and the sound of Definitely Maybe, he was a big part of it. And you listen to songs like Supersonic, it has that iconic drum from Tony McCarroll. So I think obviously issues, Noel Gallagher, he's always had issues with drummers, and
he fucking hates
we know he's thought on he'd replace them with machines.
That's bullshit.
But that's just Noel all over. John, they obviously had to have a court settlement as well back in 1995 or whenever it may have been, for the release of Tony McCarroll from relieving of his duties from Oasis. But he was a founding member of the band before Noel came in, which makes it even more bizarre. But it's a nice message, John. It's a lot of water's passed under the bridge. I don't know how much Noel holds grudges these days, because obviously he seems to have softened in his old age with his brother, so who knows. I would love to see Tony make an appearance at one of the gigs, maybe just even for a couple of numbers, Supersonic, and I don't know.
Do you think that will happen?
I don't think it will, John.
No.
I think Noel's, I think he's getting the band in just now to rehearse without Liam. I don't know if you've read this.
No.
The reason for that is because it's a new lineup,
Yeah.
and he wants to make them as tight as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas he's basically saying Liam will not come into the
Singing.
May, because he knows the songs. He knows.
And he'll
them.
want to
He's
make
done
sure
them
he's
before.
recovering his voice as well, Stephen, because Liam's last performance, obviously, well, the one that I'm aware of at the Joshua fight, he get sort of destroyed on social media for his vocal performance. So you'll want to give him the best opportunity to rest his vocals, because it's going to be strenuous, man, on his voice. They're doing quite an extensive tour. And then they're going over to North America as well, aren't they? So it's going to test his vocals. So he's not getting any younger, Liam. Liam's in his early 50s now, so they're going to, I mean, they're probably giving him the best amount of sort of recovery, just so he's well up for it and on it, and they can come out swinging for the, what's the phrase? I don't know, because I'm not a fucking cricket or baseball fan, so I don't know any phrases about swinging for the... But I can't remember, it doesn't matter. Come out swinging. I want to give him the best opportunity. Keep telling I'm not a cricket fan. I've got a baseball hat on, but I wouldn't say I'm a baseball fan by any means. Yeah, I watched it for a while, but it's too fucking long. It's too fucking long. It goes on way too long. If I was there, if I was in the cool summer sun of Boston or LA watching, and I had a hot dog and a beer or whatever, much different. Because you're there enjoying and just sitting in the moment, enjoying it. If you're watching it on TV at 3 a.m, not as enjoyable, I have to stress. But I digress. They're probably giving him the best chance, Stephen, to recover his voice. And obviously, like you says, it's important that the band gets tight. Because look, I don't know what the Stones did when they came back for their tour, the Hackney Diamonds tour. But they certainly weren't tight. I don't think they had been rehearsing. The first quad start me up of the entire tour, I watched it, someone recorded it. Yeah. Keith made an arse of it. I don't know how you make an arse of it. It's like a simple fucking A minor or something, or whatever. A on G. It's like, you just put your bar and 2 fingers down. How can you make an arse of that? But he did. Obviously nerves and not quite been on it. Noel will not allow that. I've seen him behind the scenes in documentaries. He is fucking anal. He wants it to be the best. He is a perfectionist. He'll want them to be on it.
Alan not coming back, John, because you and I saw the video of
man.
And he was not happy. Noel's made mistakes. I've saw him do a Don't Look Back in anger solo on
Yeah.
social, and he made a Jeremy Hunt of it, you know.
But what I loved about that clip, Stephen, was Liam was the mediator. He was the calm, even-headed guy. He was saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, come on now, behave. Come on."
Yeah.
Liam's normally fucking want to kill people, but he's actually saying, "No, right, come on, that's enough. Behave." I love how Liam has got this reputation now of being sort of open book, and he is, to be fair, but just hot-headed, and he'll say whatever he feels necessary. No is a nasty bastard when he wants to be, man. He can be a right nasty bastard. It's almost like, I don't know, you can't really make a comparison to the Beatles because they're almost like all of them combined. But Liam, I mean, he's trying to be John Lennon, but Noel's almost like McCartney and Lennon combined, where he's a sort of, for all intents and purposes, is a nicer brother, the nicer person, but he's got that nasty streak that Lennon had. I can imagine him fucking scalping someone for mucking about with the volume control on a TV remote back in the day. I can imagine that element of Lennon in Noel. He just strikes me as being quite...
You've read the quotes from Noel as well, John. I'm paraphrasing something along the lines of, you know, just because you sell so many million records doesn't make you any good. Just look at Phil Collins.
He fucking hates Phil Collins.
That's real thing against Phil Collins.
Phil Collins has had a terrible time of it, by the way. I didn't realise he had some illness or something going on. He's got like something with nerves in his hand or something. He can't hold drumsticks anymore.
Phil Collins, I think that's just Noel being Noel. I think deep down he knows that Phil Collins was a very successful artist, part of Genesis, and as a solo artist as well, and a songwriter and a musician. He might not be a cup of tea, but you can't say that about him, you know.
No, that's what I love about them, though. They do speak their mind, and as someone who also likes to speak his mind, I can respect it. They just straight out say it. If they don't like something, not like shit. There's a famous video of Liam behind the scenes, backstage at a festival, and they were asking him about modern bands and what he thought, and he just rhymed them all off and says, shit. I think he set a record for the amount of fuckings in the one sentence. I think there may have been 4. Something, I can't remember. I'd love to find the quote. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. I can't even think of it. It was incredible. It was like 4 in one sentence, but he was just taking them apart. But what I digress, Tony McCarroll, Stephen, he's issued this open letter, and this is what he had to say. I didn't realise he had a website. That's a bit up yourself. 2025 is shaping up all right, isn't it? TonyMcCarroll.com. Who's this? Fair play. Almost a lifetime ago, a few Burnage lads got together and created something special, something that time can't outdate, the start of a wave that's evidently still rolling with the last real band before the world changed. I'm going to pick that apart right off the bat. I'm going to say that's fucking bollocks. The last real band before the world changed. What is the sort of tipping point for the world changing then? Is it the rise of the internet? Is it smartphones?
I think social media.
Is it phones? Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not the last real band before the world changed then, are they? I mean, you've got the likes of Arctic Monkeys, not on Oasis level, Franz Ferdinand, lots of great neo-punk and alternate bands from the early 2000s. The world was a different place back then. It's not like now. You didn't have social media, you didn't have internet in its current state, you didn't have phones.
Yeah. I think he's talking about the sort of
the 90s
at their height in '96, John.
Yeah,
probably never. Yeah. I would probably say that's what he's referring to. I don't think he's referring to the sort of second incarnation of Oasis.
Yeah.
Because as you said, there was a lot of other bands around that time, but sort of 90s Oasis, there was no one on that level at that point, I wouldn't say. Blur, obviously, you and I
they're not
big Blur.
They weren't on Oasis though in terms of popularity.
Well, it's apples and pears as well, John. I don't like to compare them. I like both of them for different reasons, you know.
To be fair, he's right, because you think in Nebworth, no one was doing that, and no one has really done that since, have they? Let's be honest. I mean, you've got festivals, but not a single act who's drawn like fucking 1 million people or whatever it was over 2 days to somewhere. I mean, that was extraordinary. So, I mean, he's right. I'm picking holes in it, but he's absolutely right. Oasis captured the time and minds of the people. We were the same as them, and they felt it. The connection, absolutely bang on. I've seen Noel talk about that. I think, what was the song? he wrote, which kind of captured that energy. What was the name of the song? Do you know what I mean? Is that the
Yeah.
one I'm thinking about?
All my people,
all my
right
people
now.
right here, right now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's kind of tapping into that, where the working class guys who've came up and they've created an absolute storm. It's a zeitgeist moment, and people are inspired, like they were, by the Stone Roses and bands like that, the Smiths back in the day, working class bands who became hugely successful. They're now inspiring a whole generation of other people. I've seen Noel talking about that, how he's inspired guitar players who are miles above him in a technical level, and he can't believe he's their inspiration. But he is. They inspire the whole generation of people. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm taking it down quote by quote and getting off piste instead of just fucking reading it.
I remember that time, John, and I agree with what Tony's saying there. It was a lightning in a bottle moment between 94 and probably 96. I can remember it because I was like 18, 19 and 20. I was just that right age.
Stephen, I even remember it, man. I remember Don't Look Back in Anger on the radio, and I was young, but they were fucking massive. If you are sort of penetrating the brain of like a 6, 7-year-old who's probably not really into music to the level you would be when you get into your teenage years and older. I mean, you're into music, but I mean, it's not like serious like maybe you were at 18. I mean, if you're getting to people of that generation with your music, you know you are fucking doing something special. I mean, I loved songs like that back in the day when I was a little kid, so I even was aware of Oasis as a young guy at the time, so
when you
it
knew
really
a single
was.
was coming out, John, it was a thing, you know, and you talk about that with the Beatles, you know, and what that must have been like for, you know, people in their 20s in the 1960s, you know, when a Beatles song was about to be released, just the excitement of hearing that for the very first time. And although it's not in the same level, I get that, but it was, you know, for that generation, that was their sort of version of that. You know, when a single came out or an album came out, it was a thing, you know, it was.
And for this generation,
it was very catchy and it was very, very memorable, and it just sort of rolled off the tongue. You could memorise the song after maybe 2 listens, you know.
Yeah. And now we've got Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you.
And Ed
I only
Sheeran.
know one of her songs. Yeah.
Ed's dropped a new album.
Oh, great.
Brilliant. That'll be another fucking 2 months of him polluting the fucking charts with his bass shite. Well, I liked Ed back in the day, I'm not going to lie and be a hypocrite. I did like his first album. I didn't like A-Team. I was never having A-Team, ever. It was just too in your face, obnoxious, getting played everywhere. But there was things like Lego House and You Need Me, I Don't Need You, and things like that. Cool little songs where he was using the loop machine and whatnot. Also a very talented guy, but it's just in recent years he's fucking everywhere, and even when he's writing songs for other people, you know it's him. It's fucking Sheeran. It's just so beige.
It's like Chris Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I love Chris, but
he wrote that song for Embrace, that Gravity song, and I went, that's fucking Coldplay. Coldplay.
It's just, you know what I fucking hate about Coldplay now? And look, I'm not knocking Coldplay. I actually like Coldplay. I do. Their first 3 albums are unbelievable, and even some of their newer stuff is pretty decent. And as a live act, it's impressive. I mean, you wouldn't get one of those bands on me for any money in the world. But when you watch it on the TV, like I think Glastonbury last year, and it's just a sea of different colours, it is visually impressive. But I fucking
it's visually impressive from a perspective, John, but I wouldn't like to be in amongst it.
No. But
it's total wanky.
Oh, absolutely, Stephen. It's like the opposite. I mean, going to a Stone Roses gig is wanky, where you've got all these twats with bucket hats on and whatnot, try to be Ian Brown. It's like you're not going to be Ian Brown. There is only one Ian Brown. I'm the same size as Ian Brown pretty much. I can't wear clothes like Ian Brown because he's fucking Ian Brown and I ain't him. But they write songs now and you just hear it on the radio, you hear the break for the crowd. It's like, it's fucking terrible. You can hear the point they've wrote for the crowd in the stadium to sing along. It's like, God almighty.
It's a good moment.
My dog is lifting my leg up. I feel like I'm in the ocean and there's nothing I can do about it. My leg's just... it's just trapped against the top of the fucking desk and I can't get it out. But Yeah, I don't know where we went with that. Yeah, Sheeran and whatnot. No, they were definitely a band at the time. They captured the time and minds of people. Over the last year or two, I've noticed something new in the gig Q&A crowds. Youth, the circle has started again, lads. A new generation ready to start a journey of listening. Actually, I'm a bit jealous of that blank canvas they're about to start on. I'd like to put these words out there, lads. The world is excited to see this. It's all people are talking about. The time feels right. I can't wait to see how it all goes down. Liam, Noel, Bone, Jem. I better stop there as I'm not sure who else. Good luck with everything, and don't forget to stop and take it in. If a drummer fancies a stage partner for Supersonic at Heaton Park, give us a buzz. Steen, I actually think they will, to be fair. I think they will bring him out, because it'd be too good an opportunity not to have the original lineup there one last time. I feel like it will happen. I think Noel will get him on for 1 or 2 songs. It would almost be egregious not to.
I don't know if he will, because a lot of people put a lot of pressure on Noel to appear with Liam at the Manchester benefit concerts.
They fucking hated each other then, though, didn't they?
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's in a different place now, so it really depends on where his head's at. And you know, if he can forgive Liam and Liam can forgive him, then anything's possible, I suppose.
If anything, it's Tony McCarroll. It should be forgiven. No, it's not the other way around. No, fucking kicked him out. I understand you've got to be brutal if you want to be the best version you can be. But I mean, again, unless I'm tripping, definitely Maybe was the first album, and Live Forever was on it. And when I think of Live Forever, I think of Liam's vocals, and I think of the drums. So I don't know what to say. It's not like he was a horrific drummer. It was bringing the band down. Maybe live he was, I don't know. I can't speak for that. I wasn't there. But in terms of the album, drumming's fucking fine. And speaking of
I think it's a consistency
that
Tony McCarroll's got. He's got a, if it's a repetition, he's very good at it. But I think in terms of doing anything fancy, technically, I don't think he's got that. Some drummers have it, some don't. Some go by feel, some go pre-programmed. I think he was more of the sort of pre-programmed drummer.
Yeah.
He was told what to do and he stuck to it, and he could do the consistency of drumming, but he couldn't do anything out with sticking to the plan.
Surely that's what Noel wants, though, if he wants a drum machine.
Depends on the sound, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It depends what he wants from the sound, because he'll want to change it about. And I know that obviously some might say, pardon the pun, but some might say that, definitely maybe in What's the Story kind of blend into each other in terms of song. But definitely when you get to Be Here Now, it's a totally different thing, and the sort of second version of Oasis that came out, in the 2000s, again, a totally different sound. So it's all about evolving, I suppose, and I think Noel's conscious of that. I think he's conscious of the product and not want to repeat himself too often. And I think perhaps maybe the drumming might have played a big part of that if he kept them.
Yeah, possibly. And look, to be fair, they get great drummers in after, didn't they? So,
yeah.
That he also hated, funnily enough. I think it's a Noel problem. I don't think it's the drummers.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think it's Noel. Speaking of, some might say though, Stephen, on vinyl, 30th anniversary, we're getting a re-release. I find it interesting that this whole vinyl thing's kicked off again. That we've got a whole generation discovering Oasis and bands like that for the first time and going down rabbit holes. By the way, going back to that briefly, youth appearing at Q&As, the cycle starts again. No, Liam's been playing to young audiences for years now, man. It's been 15, 16 and 17-year-olds going to his gigs, listening to the Oasis numbers for years now. There's been a new generation, Zoomers, whatever you want to call them, discovering Oasis and getting right into it. That's probably the biggest sort of fan base outside of the OG. Like teenagers who were coming up in the 90s, they are probably the biggest Oasis fans now. So, I mean, that's not something that's new. That's probably why they're coming back, because they realise there's monetary sort of gains there to tap into. They're not stupid. Noel had an expensive divorce and he wants to make that fucking money back. But yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on this, Stephen? Obviously, through, I'm not going to say her name because there's fucking creeps out there, but obviously your daughter, my niece, younger generation, alpha generation, dare I say it, not even Zoomer, has got a vinyl player, a record player. So that's something that I know for a fact. My dog is fucking starting to get to me at this point. He's to my left, next to my guitar, might add, licking a pillow.
I was in HMV a couple of weeks ago with my daughter, and the vinyls are all downstairs, and it's a record shop in Glasgow, folks, for anyone that doesn't know.
It's great,
I'm
it's
pretty
still
sure
owned.
pretty much people know what HMV is, but yeah, I mean, it was just kids. It was I don't know, maybe about 30 kids all downstairs. When I say kids, anything from probably about 12 to maybe 20, you know, kids to me. So it's great to see. It's fantastic to see, you know, and they're all sort of sifting through, you know, the vinyls the way we used to do when we were looking for a particular record. And it's just great to see, John. I mean, I think a lot of people might see it as a bit pretentious and stuff like that, but there's something different about a vinyl than there is certainly from a digital download.
It's warmer.
Even going back to cassettes and CDs, there's something so different with vinyl. There's a feel to it, and it's just a totally different thing altogether in terms of how you're listening to it. It's hard to describe. I'm probably not articulating that well, but there is definitely something different about a vinyl. Placing that in your record player, placing the needle on the track and listening to it.
Well, you've got a physical connection to it, Stephen, and I think that's something that's been lost with digital. The physical connection and actually having it on your sort of person, if you'd like. I don't think it's pretentious at all. I actually think there's two sort of splinter groups of younger people now. You've got the people who are just completely engrossed in digital and phones and social media, and they're lost to that shit. And they've got the attention span of a fucking gnat, I think that's what they say. I don't even know what a gnat is. And now you've got, it's a saying, it's just in my brain, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
Black Widow?
What's that?
Is that not Black Widow?
Is it? I don't know. But you've got another sort of splinter of the younger generations who are, I think, starting to step away from phones and stuff like that. They're trying to limit their screen time. They're becoming more connected to the environment and the world. And they're getting into vinyls and physical things and copies and books and whatnot. They're starting to get back to the old ways, which is not a bad thing. Because if there's a solar flare tomorrow, we're all fucked. And the people who have got physical things, they'll be absolutely fine unless they've got no electricity, in which case you better get a generator or start finding some way to fucking power it with your legs. But they've got the right idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's something special about having a palpable connection to something, be it music or something else. Having it in your hands or knowing that it belongs to you. It's not on a streaming platform and it can be switched off like that and you've lost it. Tarantino with film. He's got an unbelievable library of reels and film. I think no one's the same. These people exist, and it's great to see there's still young people out there carrying it on.
It's good to see the re-release of Some Might Say, because it's a fantastic track. And I'm openly admitting this, you know, I'm not the biggest Oasis fan. I appreciated them for what they did when they came out, and I got a certain buzz from their singles and their albums to an extent, but my focus was on another band, as you know, R.E.M. But my brother was right into Oasis, my uncle was right into Oasis, so I always remember when Some Might Say came out, and it was one of the ones that I just thought, that's a great song. It's a fantastic sound to it, guitar work's incredible, and I can't remember if Some Might Say was probably the last one McCarroll was on. I don't know. Was he on that? It was credited for one of the songs on What's the Story, and that was part of the court sort of settlement. His payment for being on the album, he got a
You know what, I'll go and check it out just now, Stephen, and find out.
It might be Some Might Say. It's just a great song. I think Liam's voice on it is probably peak Liam at this point, just the way he sings it. Even live, they did it so well. So yeah, it's a good song, and it's hard to believe it's 30 years since
it was the last song Tony McCarroll would ever done. Yeah.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah. So they might bring him out for it.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, I'd love to see him coming in and doing a couple of numbers. I think it would be great, just as a sort of payback to the original lineup. I think it would be great. It'd be a great thing for the audience as well to be there and experience seeing the band in its original sort of lineup. That's something you can see that you've lived to see, because there's probably an older generation who've seen it, but even they're limited because they did get the heave-ho after one album, so that'd be something special to see. I think it'd be a missed opportunity not to do it, but no, I mean, it's great to see them re-releasing I don't know if they've done any album re-releases because obviously I'm the complete opposite of owning vinyl. I just go into Apple Music and download everything with the click of a button. So I'm one of those people who will be absolutely fucking screwed if there's a Solar Flare tomorrow and it's all
There has
off.
been re-releases of Definitely Maybe and What's the Story, John, over the last couple of years because of the anniversaries. So last year was obviously What's the Stories, Definitely Maybe's anniversary, 40th anniversary, and this year's is What's the Story, Morning Glory. So it's hard to believe it's 30 years though, John. I remember that all this as if it was yesterday, and later on in the year it'll be 30 years since the Battle of the Britpop Pants, as you know, Country House against Roll With It. It's incredible. It really is. It's been 30 years. I don't know where the times went.
Did they put a reference into that song, didn't they, Country House, Paul? Morning Glory or something? Did they know?
Morning Glory and Life's a Different Story.
Yeah, they did.
Jack and Ori. Yeah.
Was that round about when What's the Story, Morning Glory was out? So it was a deliberate boot?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it, yeah. Like it.
I mean, even to this day, I don't get why they were battling. They're two totally different bands, man. I mean, it's crazy. They don't even sound in remotely the same genre.
But,
I mean, I understand they were the two most popular bands at the time. But
part of it was media, part of it was the Gallagher brothers having an opinion on
everything.
I think the bassist and Damon Albarn. Noel's actually good friends with Damon Albarn now. It's just,
the bassist, is that your man? It's the Cheese Farmer now. I always blank his name.
Alex James.
Alex James. I had an opinion on Alex. He's the most affable, easygoing guy you'll ever see. I bet they didn't have an opinion on Graham Coxon though, because no one can hate Graham. How can you hate Graham? Graham's fucking brilliant, man. Damon's brilliant. I don't get it.
Even Dave Rowntree, the drummer.
I always forget the drummer's name. The ginger.
Yeah. He ran for Labour at some point.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Well, I mean, New Labour, because it's kid on Labour. Tory Labour. Labour died in the early 90s with your man that passed away with a heart attack.
John Smith.
Yeah, that was when Labour died. When Tony took over, Labour died as a party. And now we've got various forms of Thatcher, sort of sycophants coming into power. And that's why, as a country, we're absolutely fucked. And things aren't getting better, they're only getting worse. Thanks Maggie, thanks Tony, thanks Rishi, thanks Gordon, thanks to all the fuckers from Westminster, but most of all, thank you to the unionists who said no to Scottish independence. Hope you're having a great time with your pensions and whatnot. Fuckers. I digress. I said I wasn't going to go into politics at the start. Donald's just crashed the economy, by the way, so the pensions are all gone anyway. So there's your dinner. Well done, Donald. Prick. Just going to round it up. What is your thoughts on the topics I see Elon's away now as well. Well done, Elon. Hundreds of millions trying to win a sort of election, and he lost. Fucking twat. What is your thoughts on the topics we touched upon? Melted face. Val Kilmer, passing of Val Kilmer, his iconic roles. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 6, rumoured pricing to be $100 in the States. Probably, it'll be more now. Japan. Tariffs, probably be about $200 in the States. Well done, Donald. Well done, mate. Thoughts on Pete Best retiring, of course, the 5th Beatles member, former member of the Beatles, and Tony McCarroll posting an open letter to Oasis. Some might say getting a re-release. Do you want to see Tony appearing at the reunion for a couple of songs? Anything you want to share, pop it down below in the comments section. That's the place to put your thoughts. Like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, do the same thing over on Twitch, follow notifications button over there. And all that's left to be said really is until the next time. Thank you for watching, thank you for the comments, and bye bye.